we think we should be doing something because maybe we were told that that's what our skill set is, but maybe that's not even really our passion. But maybe we just need to figure out how to take what it is we're good at and find the passion and pair them up, right?
I failed way more than I succeeded. And I always tell everybody, listen, I don't know everything about everything, but I can tell you a different million ways of how not to do something. And I think that's way more valuable than my success.
How much would you pay to take 5 years off of your learning process? How much would that be worth to you to take 5 years off of your learning process? I mean, that's why I've always had a coach, is I want to find somebody who's 5 years ahead of me that can help me get there faster than I could on my own.
Welcome to another episode of the Starter Girlz podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so glad to have you. All right, I'm going to open up with this today. We all hit points in life and business where we feel stuck, unsure of how to move forward or reach the next level. Some plateaus seem impossible to break. And if nothing changes, guess what? Nothing changes, right? So why do most people keep doing the same thing and wonder why they're stuck? I think that's an insanity thing. My guest today, I have a feeling, is going to help us with some of that. And so we're going to be chatting with him. I say my guest as an S because we have two today. This could be so much fun. But before I can bring them on, I do need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine.
And with that, I do want to make a mention to head on over to startergirlz.com. I tell you this every single week. And why? Because for a few reasons. One, if you've missed an episode, it is a great place to catch up. You can also sign up for our community newsletter and stay in the know of what's going out and coming up. And then, of course, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, creator, I don't know, maybe you're in the thick of it, you want to know what your number one success block is that may be impacting your success, well, you can take my quiz that I created. It's a 2-minute quiz. It's fun. It'll tell you what might be holding you back right now. So head on over to startergirlz.com. And as I always say, do your thing. All right. It's time to welcome our guests to the show today. So today I'm joined by Mark, Bruce, and Duane Gibbs, co-founders of Huddle for Success. Together, they help entrepreneurs, professionals, and high performers break through plateaus, reshape their mindset, and take action that produces real results in business and life. Mark has built wealth and business success starting in his early 20s, while Duane brings in over 30 years of experience coaching leaders to overcome limiting beliefs and achieve bold goals. And so I'm so excited to have you both on the show today. So welcome, Mark, Duane. Welcome to Starter Girlz.
Great to be here, Jennifer. Thanks for having us.
Yes, we're so glad to be here.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited.
Yes.
So, all right. And we're going to make this fun. I know both of you got lots of things to share. And so hopefully we'll get to hear from both of you back and forth on some of this stuff. And so, first of all, I guess what I want to talk about is how this whole Huddle for Success thing came together. Like, how did you two get together to create this platform that you're using to help your clients?
So that's a great question. So I'll start and then give half the story, and then Mark can give the other half.
Sounds good.
As you mentioned, I was in industry for 30 years, so I traveled all over the world educating people not only how to invest in real estate, but also the note side of real estate, securitized by real estate. And I met Mark about 12 years ago. The company I worked with, we had an expo. Mark came to the expo, talking with Mark. Hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Maryland. Oh, me too. And it was kind of going back and forth. Come to find out, his dad was my assistant principal at our high school. So that's how close we grew up. And we didn't know each other, but we formulated a friendship. And I kind of helped Mark a little bit with the note business, and we just stayed connected. And so
Love it.
after 30 years of traveling so much, I just got tired of living out of hotels and suitcases. And as we were talking before the show, doing a lot of work in Dallas Fort Worth, and I, have the same room. I was going there so much. I had the same daggone hotel room, twice a month every time I'd go. And so living out of airplanes and just constantly flying, it was a lot. I loved what I did, but the traveling got to me. Um, and so after 30 years, I decided, hey, I'm going to stop. And at that time, my mom and dad wanted to make a move from Southwest Florida up here to North Carolina, where I live. And so they would come on vacations, and, they enjoyed being up here. I have a sister that's 11 years to my senior. So they were able to come see her because she just couldn't travel and go down for holidays and all. And so because I was able to, because of my job, I travel all around. I was able to go. So they moved up. And 8 months into it, my dad had a stroke and passed away.
I'm sorry.
And my mom, she has Alzheimer's, dementia, and sundowners. And so I see to her full time.
Wow.
And, I was away from the whole training business for about, I don't know, 3 years. And I did some things, a little bit, but really taking care of my mom and just trying to figure out what was my next step. I know that I wanted to get back into helping people because I enjoy it. I love getting someone from X to Z, and just
Mhm.
what does all that look like? And so I'm talking to Mark one day, and I said, listen, I am trying to reinvent myself, but it's an issue. It's an issue because I know what I did for 30 years, but how can I really transition over? I have this balloon in my head, but nothing I have found that can pop it, that can
Mhm.
make everything make sense.
Yeah.
And so visually I saw it, but mentally I just didn't have it together of what that looked like. And so that was about 2 years ago. And he presented to me a system and his coach mentor that he uses, Bob Proctor. And so everybody, anybody that's out there that does coaching, speaking, live seminars, I know have been around, and I could tell you any of them, and you say, oh yeah, I know that person. Well, when Mark presented this to me, this was the first time that I sat up in my seat, and boom, that was the pop of the balloon. That was my aha moment. And then from there it just overflowed. We collaborated so much and said, hey, let's combine our 70 years of experience. And Mark will tell his story that, we, even though we're so different, but yet we're very a lot alike in so many different ways. And so we meshed all of it together, but yet used Bob Proctor's thinking in the results as our platform. So there's a system that's already been in place for 60 years, and then 70 years of what we bring to the table. We just felt like, you know what, this is a great machine, and let's figure out how we can really load people into this business and take them to a different level, whether they're trying to create another business, whether like myself need to reinvent themselves, have been in corporate
Mhm.
America for so long, have ideas, and just try and get people to a different position in life and or business that they're longing for. And so with that being said, we're big into sports, and it was
Yeah,
all
I
of,
do want to talk to y'all about that in just a few
yeah,
minutes.
big
Yeah.
into sports, and just really
Yeah.
wanted it to develop around team and unity and collaboration. And I just came up, I was watching Super Bowl a year and a half ago,
Mhm.
and just thinking, you know what, or football game, I don't know if it was Super Bowl, but they're all together.
Yeah.
They get a play
Yeah.
from the sideline, they huddle together, they execute the play, boom, they score a touchdown. And so the huddle just came. I said, hey, how about huddle for success? And so that's kind of how I formulated.
Yeah. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Mark, you want to
So,
add to this?
well, sport, as Duane said, sports was something that was near and dear to both of our hearts. I mean, he's got Cal
Mhm.
Ripken's jersey behind him, and
Okay.
I was
Yeah, I
a
see
great
something.
Cal Ripken fan. But I was born to a coach. My dad was a high school phys ed teacher. He was a
Okay.
basketball coach. He coached everything.
Yeah.
One of my first dreams was I wanted to go to college and play basketball in college and be in the NBA. He got his PhD from Ohio State when I was 10, and we met John Havlicek, came over to borrow a hammer from him. And I was like, John Havlicek, I mean, his shoulders seemed like they were like wider than the room. He was
Yeah.
about an inch taller than my dad. He was 6'7". My dad was 6'6",
Wow.
but he was just, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like him. So, sports was always near and dear to my heart. I played for a national championship high school basketball team at DeMatha High School with Morgan Wooten, and I learned so much. I've always had a coach, and in 2020, when things started to shut down, my wife and I I'll back up. We started a business in 1986 when we were 26 years old. We built it. We sold it for $3.5 million in 2009. We got into the real estate business here and there, and we always had multiple streams of income. And in 2020, when things got a little wanky, we were like, all of our income's going away. Our tenants aren't going to be able to pay rent. The people paying, Duane taught me the note business where we owned mortgages. And, he was my mentor for a while. And I was like, oh, these people paying mortgages are not going to be able to pay their bills because they can't go to work. And what's going to happen? And I picked up Think and Grow Rich Again by Napoleon Hill,
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
of my favorite books. And I started studying it. It said, read it 3 times and then put it to work. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then somehow on the internet, it must have known I was reading it because I saw a webinar that Bob Proctor was doing. And, because Google knows everything you're thinking.
Right.
So it fed me Bob Proctor. And his copy of the book, he had it rubber banded together. And he's like, I've been studying this book since 1961. I was like, oh my gosh, I was born in 1960. He probably knows more than I do.
Right.
So I decided to coach with Bob. Bob's partner, Sandy Gallagher, she became a partner of his. She actually wrote Thinking into Results. She designed the program to take to corporate America and teach corporate America. She was one of the most successful banking attorneys in the country. She did billion-dollar deals all the time. She took Bob's knowledge and put it into Thinking into Results. And I started studying as like, oh my gosh, I need to share this with people. It's my time to share. And that, I shared it with Duane, and that's kind of how Huddle for Success came about. Masterminding is one of the biggest things that they teach. And I've always been part of a mastermind since 2000 and in my first businesses. So masterminding is really important.
Yeah, and I think I shared with you guys that my coaching certification that I went through was Mary Morrissey, she
Yes.
works with Bob Proctor. So I'm assuming that there's probably some similarities in there, as far as the way they're thinking.
Very much
But
so.
I remember, even in all the years I was in network marketing, I knew about Bob Proctor because it kind of trickles down. You had Zig Ziglar, and then sort of all. Interestingly enough, it's so funny how I think life is sometimes, because I don't know if I shared this with you, but when I moved here to Dallas, I was still in Mary Kay. I actually left Mary Kay during COVID. I was with them for 22 years, and talk about reinvention. Like, I sort of kind of like you did, Duane, I sort of had to go through this whole, like, how do I re-identify myself? Because that's all I had known
Yeah.
was network marketing in the Mary Kay world, but interestingly enough, during that whole process, I met Brian Flanagan, and Brian Flanagan used to travel with Zig Ziglar on stage. And funny enough, I had him on my podcast, and I got to do a presentation with him. And it was really interesting
Oh,
because
that's
I remember
cool.
somebody coming up and going, "You held yourself up really good up there with Brian Flanagan," like, because he had been on stage with Zig Ziglar for many,
Yeah.
many years. And so I just think it's interesting how things in our lives sort of kind of work out. Like, you guys talk about how you realize he was, Duane's dad, or was or the principal, like all these connections in life, and how things sort of kind of evolve as we go along.
See, my dad was corporate. He was an accountant for Coca-Cola Company for 22, 24 years, something like that. And I
Okay.
remember at 17 years of age, I came home from school and he was sitting on the couch and he was completely upset. And my mom wasn't there and I didn't know something happened to my mom, what's going on. And
Yeah.
he let me know that, Coca-Cola, they let him go after so many years. And that's what corporate America does. And not only him,
Yeah.
but other people they replaced out don't have to
Right.
pay out the high salary. They can still get their pension down the road, but now you have to go find something else. And I knew at that moment that I I did not want somebody to dictate when I was done, number
Yeah.
one. And number two, I wanted to not be valued of what they thought I was worth. I always wanted to do more, be more. And I grew
Yeah.
up around aunts, uncles, cousins that always said, "Hey, you'll never amount to anything.
Sure.
It was very negative as growing up in that manner. And I
Right.
just fueled from playing sports and teamwork and buddies and foxhole brothers and people holding each other accountable for. And I think that sports really carried on through my life that made me very competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
competitive of who can run to the mailbox first to get, the mail. I mean,
Right.
that's to the extreme, but that was
Yeah.
my mindset. And I'll never forget when I moved my mom and dad up. My dad was sitting in my office one day and I was talking to a student and I got off the phone and he had tears in his eyes. And I said, What's the matter? And he goes, How in the world did you know all this? How do you
Mm.
know? How can you help? I mean, I heard this lady when you got off the phone and she was just ecstatic of what you were able to give her. And he goes, I never taught you that. I mean, I and I said, but you did. You were the
Yeah.
core of what really built me because as much as I wanted to be you and emulate you and
Right.
and and was so proud to be your son, I
Right.
didn't want to go down that road that you went down. And so
Yeah.
you instilled in my head of always, hey, go to work 40 hours a week, 30 years with a company and everything will be okay. And it wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't for you. So I assumed it wasn't going to be for me.
Right.
And I just felt like I needed to do something different. And the only person that was going to help me was me. And so, listen, it
Mm.
wasn't easy.
Yeah.
I failed way more than I succeeded. And I always tell everybody, listen, I don't know everything about everything, but I can tell you a different million ways of how not to do something. And I think that's way more valuable than my success because
Yeah.
it's looking through a different set of lenses to where I can minimize the risk, but yet way maximize the rate of return, whether it's in life or in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
got a Zig Ziglar quote in our book right ahead of the chapter, Cultivating Resilience. And
Mm.
it's Zig said, it's not how far you fall that counts, it's how high you bounce.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of good
So
takeaways from them.
Magic.
Yes. It's
Zig-
yeah, it's interesting. And you said something really great too when you were talking, about your dad, Duane, that yeah, I think so much of I feel like, when I have these conversations with different people that are in this space where they're helping, all of us are really, that's what we do, want to help other people
Sure.
prevent some of the not do some of the same things that
Sure.
we do or pick up on something that we think has really been significant in our lives. But I think so much of, like we mentioned your dad, and I think it's interesting how we pick up on those things that we look at something that happened, we go, that's not what we want to recreate. And so we
That's
set
right.
out to try to change those patterns, and do different things. And so I think it's good. I think that's really unique too about you two is that you both came from very different, because I look at you, I hear your story, Duane, and I think, oh, your story is kind of like a little bit like mine, like where I grew up in a home where we didn't have a lot of encouragement, and not that my parents were bad parents or they just
That's
didn't
right.
grow up.
That's
They
right.
didn't get
They were
that.
different.
Yeah, they
My
just
my
did. Yeah.
go ahead.
And they didn't get it, and so when we were growing, that's why I went into Mary Kay. That's why I did Mary Kay for so long, because when I went into Mary Kay, I was a really shy, insecure, like I couldn't even get up and talk in front of people. I hated talking, but I learned so many great leaderships in there. And I'm so thankful to this day that I went in there, because had I not done that, my children's lives would have been very different. They wouldn't have had the skills they had today because just like I was telling the guy I was talking to this morning, I had a conversation with my son, I think last week. He sends me a text. He's a chef at a chain here in Dallas called Whiskey Cake. And he makes really good money. He's on salary, but he was mad about something. And I said to him, I put it in text. I said, Sean, Remember, it's a win-win. If they win, you win. Everybody wins. That's your objective today. Because I know how he is. He's a hothead. And so I was trying to prevent the chaos, But I'm just saying that I think, every day that those leadership skills I learned were in that, came out of that environment that I purposely went and put myself in. And then see, Mark, I see your story and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you grew up with a coach dad. So you had that, that mindset of that instilling that coach, like that team and stuff. And so I think what's really unique about you two is that and this is where the team comes in. And so you guys bring different perspectives, which is really good because you have a wider reach. You have the ability to really
Yeah.
come together and tap into the different sides because you're going to get people definitely, like you, Duane, that are going to come in that are going to be one, that are going to have this background. And then Mark, you've got the people that are going to be that understand the team and all of that came from that perspective. And so I think it's a great mesh.
In 89, I started investing in real estate, 89, 90, and I learned from a book about this size, little book,
Yeah.
and it talked about how to go out and buy real estate, one more piece of property. So you own one for yourself,
Yeah.
go out and just buy one more. And the guy that he lived in Florida because I moved when I graduated high school. I moved to Florida. I moved to
Okay.
Southwest Florida, and when I moved there, my background was construction. I was a mason and built houses younger, and so again, that entrepreneur, and that's what I wanted to do. But when I moved to Florida, I said, you know what, I'm going to start investing in real estate. I was in a great market, Southwest Florida. It was the old, hey, if you have money, come to Southwest Florida. I have swampland to sell you. Well, the joke was on the people that didn't invest because that swampland turned into gold,
Yeah.
And so I went out and found a piece of property because I read this book. It said to do it. So I did because I was so ignorant. I had no idea what to do. I went to the bank, started a passbook signature savings account where I gave them $1,000. And then it was my own money. They held it, took a credit card, went and bought materials for this house. I did a contract on the deal, seller finance. So I put all the expenses on a credit card in hopes that when the bill comes in, I'd roll it to another card and another card. And that's what I
Right.
did until I locked down the first deal and I had no idea. And then after I started doing a couple, I was like, man, I can do more. But you talked about your parents thinking. I'm 58. And so my dad was always, oh man, that's risky. I don't, and he
Right.
came from, that was his upbringing,
Sure. Sure.
and, my dad died almost 5 years ago and he passed away at 84, but it was, okay, Dad, listen, if I own real estate, they've been owning it and renting it for a million
Right.
years now.
Right.
Just because Duane has a piece of property doesn't mean that they're not going to pay. I know,
Right.
but I don't want you to get risk. And then after a while, he goes, that's my boy. He does real estate. He does pretty good. Doesn't he? So,
I know parents have to protect, I
oh
get
yeah,
it.
there's
I
no
get, and
question.
that's
There's
a
no
different
question.
generation too, because my parents are in their 70s now, and it's a different, I'm in my early 50s, and so it's just a different generation because they grew up very differently, so their mindsets are different, and it's so interesting because then you go all the way down. Speaking of generations, you go all the way down to the kids, so they're very different, and my kids are like. Why are you being like this? Or be optimistic,
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to catch myself though. I'm not going to lie because parenting teaches you a lot. And I do have to catch myself sometimes because I'll be saying, Jennifer, you're being scarcity mindset right now. What would you say to somebody else that is in that position? If they came to you and they said this about their kid, what would you be saying to them? And so we have to remind ourselves about
You
this
put
stuff.
yourself in timeout a lot, don't you?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. I'll be like, yes, Jennifer, you're going in time. Speaking of which, time out. I joke about this, how my mom used to put me in the corner when I was a kid because I didn't say sorry. And then she'd get tired of looking at me and just tell me to leave. She'd be like, that kid's too stubborn. Get out of this room. Go to your room.
That's so
So
funny.
It's great. It's great. I want to talk about the sports thing because obviously this is a big part of what you're doing. And obviously, when I think about a coach, right? Because obviously people in business or life or whatever, we all have the choice. We can do this thing alone, like we can go through, or we can come
Mhm.
and get a coach, and work with somebody. And I think, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, where this sports talk is coming into this and what your take is on this, and then the coaching space.
Yeah, well, we both love sports, and sports. Every sport is a great. It's a great example of a business. I mean, business and sports are almost identical.
Yeah.
If you're good at sport, I mean, athletes have to take direction. They've got to work together with teammates, and even golfers, even tennis players, they have coaches.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
and you can learn. You can actually. There was a quote I heard. Oh, how much would you pay to take 5 years off of your off of your learning process?
Mm,
How much would that be worth to you to take 5 years off
yeah.
of your learning
Yeah.
process? I mean,
Right.
that's why I've always had a coach, is I want to find somebody who's 5 years ahead of me that can help me get there faster than I could on my own.
Right. Because you're
And
smart.
yeah, well, and
Way
sport. I
smart.
mean, sports are the same thing. You
Yes.
want the coach has experience,
Right.
and he walks you through how to practice, how to start out slow, practice, get faster and faster and faster until you just do things subconsciously, and you react. You do.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, that's funny because I'm the same way too. Like I feel like I've had mentors because and we had them obviously when I was in American forever. I took, didn't even we
Sure.
didn't even think anything of it because we just had mentors. But even as I've come out on the other side, like at the very moment I don't, but I pretty much most of the time have somebody in my space that I'm conferring with. But I think sometimes too, I'm of the thinking like you that, all athletes have coaches. So why do people think that when they're going through something or they need help? And sometimes it's like, Duane was saying, you get stuck, sort of you're having to make this transition and you don't really know what you don't know. Like, right, you don't see what you don't see. And sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes coming in and looking at something and just laying a different perspective on something, or just saying something differently that maybe you've seen it that way, and they come in and they say, "What if you just tweak this one small thing?" And you're like, "Oh, why didn't I think of that?" You know?
Yeah. The
You know,
coaching program that Duane mentored me in, it was a $40,000 coaching program. And
Yeah,
it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars by getting us stopping us from making mistakes and
yeah,
getting us to the next level faster.
yeah.
what a lot of people don't realize is that everyone has a coach.
Right,
And I mean that 9 to 5, they have a coach. Their
right. Your
boss is a
boss.
coach.
Yes.
So,
Hopefully.
yes, hopefully. And so you find so many people that don't like their job. They don't
Right,
like their job because at the end of the day, they don't have the right coach.
right,
And so most corporations now, what they do is they do a test going in to find out what you're good at. Okay, I'm a salesperson. Are you really a salesperson, or are
right,
you more of someone that is in operations? Are you an ops person? So a lot of corporate companies now find out what you're good at so they can put you in the right field. There's a
right.
sports, there's look at Cal Ripken, for instance. He,
Mhm.
he Hall of Famer, Iron Man, but Cal always played third base. He started out playing third base. And so what happens is they felt that he would be better utilized as somebody that played shortstop.
Mm,
Well, he became a Hall of Famer. He was an Iron Man.
yeah,
That was his position. So even though he wanted to play that position, that wasn't where he was best served at. And I think so many people go through life of not knowing. They may have a passion for it, but maybe
right.
they're working for the wrong company. Maybe they need to transfer companies.
Yeah.
And myself, you know, I was done with what I was doing because I was burned out from it, but I still wanted to coach. I still wanted to help people. So I just
Mhm.
needed to do a paradigm shift. And now I just said, you know what? too long working for a company. Let me do it on my own, because I know that with all the people, tens and thousands of people that I helped over the years, let me do it in how I think should be done. And so I don't have to follow that example that a company gives. Let me focus on what I know was sitting in the trenches. I'm that guy that was up here, but I want to go down into the trenches, because now I could say, hey, I know exactly what you need. I could save time. I could help you save money, and I can make things a lot better for you the second half of your life. Mark and I talk about right now it's halftime. It was halftime for me 2 years ago, knowing I needed to do something different because I still had a passion for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just needed a different ending. That's all.
Well, and you know what? To your point, I think too, there's a couple things to say about that. But one, there's this idea too that like you can't make this transition after a certain age thing, right? And I don't know how many 50-year-olds, like people in their 50s and 60s and 70s, make these transitions, right? And so, yes, you can. You're an example of this, both of you. You can make these transitions in any time, right? And so there's just so much takeaway from all of this that you were saying. But yeah, I think with everything, it's this decision, it's this process and this decision that you have to want to have somebody help you. Like you got to make this decision that you want to, because otherwise you just kind of stay in the same pattern and you
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know, right? So you've got to be open, I think, to having this person come in and helping you. And I think you guys are a great example, just because you're blending, like I said in the very beginning, blending these different styles and coming together with all of your experience. And so you can lend in or lean into these guys and present. And I love the sport thing too, because I think that's a really um important half. And I want to say something about the doing what we think we should be doing, because I think that's kind of where you were going. We get stuck in this doing what we think we're good at. So they hire the same way. And I just had this conversation with my husband Friday night on the way to dinner about how we hire. You think about how people hire, they hired a resume, not attitude, right? Like they
Mhm.
hire for somebody who fits the specific job. And so
Yes.
I think that goes the same as outside of, like, think about us. We think we should be doing something because maybe we were told that that's what our skill set is, but maybe that's not even really our passion. But maybe we just need to figure out how to take what it is we're good at and find the passion and pair them up. Right. It's like
That's
Gary
right.
Vee talking about you may
Yeah.
have a passion for music and you may never be the musician, but maybe you work with the musician. So you're around music. So now you're still getting to be around your passion and your excitement, but you figure out how to bridge all that together. You know, I think we do. We get so locked into what we think things should be. And that's why I think a fresh set of eyes sometimes can come in and ask the questions that can actually maybe put something in a different light or perspective. And then we go, oh, maybe, just maybe, I'm supposed to be doing coaching, but in a different capacity. You know, maybe it's not
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
way, you know?
We're here on this earth very short. You know, I would tell all my students that I'd work with, there was a million years before us and there's going to be a million years after us.
Right.
The average person lives to be 75 years of age. 75.
Yeah.
That's very
Very
short
short. Yeah,
of a lifespan. And so to go on and not do something that you want to do,
I agree. You
that
don't even have
is
to
just
finish
it.
it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, you
Painful.
owe it to yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's capable.
Yeah.
Everybody
It's
is capable. And
painful.
if you think that you're not, look at all these, God bless all these men and women that fight for us, that lose body parts, and that they're doing Olympics, or they're, you know, helping people spread a message about why it's important to go to the military, and here
Yeah,
they've lost a limb, or, you know, it's just everybody's capable of doing something. You owe it to yourself to find
I
what
agree.
that is, you know.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys like something like a little takeaway here. Like if we want to, because I mean, I obviously know some things that I would say, right? But I want to hear from you guys. Like, what would be something if you had somebody right now and they're coming to you and they're just like, I'm stuck. I'm just like frozen between, do I stay at my corporate job? Do I start this new adventure just in that frozen state? What would
Great
be maybe
question.
like one thing you would say right now, maybe something to write down, something, think about something to do that maybe would help kind of tip them into that next space other than to get a coach they like.
if 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 you were guaranteed success in anything you were going to do, what would you do?
Ooh, that's good. So think about that question.
I
Think
love
about
it.
that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
If you were
question.
guaranteed that you could not fail, what would you do?
You know what's so funny? We used to say something like a variation of that Mary Kay, believe it or not. Because,
Uh,
when we
I
get to the,
believe it.
I,
I
yes,
believe it.
my
High
my
achievers.
yeah,
I know a lot of high achievers in Mary Kay, and
yep.
so I'm going to tell you that I appreciate you because you're a go getter. You're someone that has tons of energy, and to know that you were successful in Mary Kay. If someone says that you weren't, I wouldn't believe it. I
Yeah, no,
mean,
I
because your
was. Yeah.
mentality, your mindset, your positivity, it bleeds success, and so I would they have all my respect because they work hard, they train hard, and they go about and spread a message of marketing, of belief, of what they believe they can help somebody get to. It has nothing to do with the makeup. It has
Yeah,
all to do with
no.
it has
Yeah.
all to do with the mindset and what they can do with that
Right.
mindset. And so my hat's off to you.
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you. But
my, my,
that question was good. That was a really good question, by the way.
yeah, my dad was an Amway distributor, and he's the one that because of Amway, I was introduced to Zig Ziglar and Bob
Okay.
Proctor and Tom,
Yeah.
just all these great minds.
Yeah.
And I heard Bob Proctor did an interview with Jim Rohn, and they were both
Yes.
asked what they would do if they couldn't do what they were doing.
Yeah.
And Jim Rohn said, "Well, I do real estate," and Bob said, "I'd be in multi-level marketing because sky's the limit. You can do what you
Yeah.
can." eh,
It's
You know,
funny.
so
That's the one thing I will say because I'm obviously no longer in there. And it's interesting, like,
right.
I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. I love, but I do sometimes miss that team thing. You know what I mean? That being accountable. And then, okay, there are parts of it that I don't miss, but I do
Right.
miss
Yeah.
that part of the being accountable and the people being accountable because it was that whole, like you guys have been talking about throughout this, that whole team thing of being a unit, like being together and you're working together and having influence and all of that good stuff. So yes, there's a lot of great takeaways from that. But I will tell you, when like I said, when I went into that at the very beginning, I was not the same person today that I was, back then. I've changed a lot, but and a lot of it was it was really, I've said this before, even in like the first 17 years of my time with Mary Kay, I had done very well. I mean, I earned cars in the company, but I still was
You lose me.
struggling a lot with the overall I don't even know how to put, like, the overall, I guess, maybe my view of perception of how things go in my life, and so, interestingly enough, the episode that I recorded before I talked to you guys, we were talking about this difference between, like, gap and gain with people and how we measure things by gain, achievement, right? And then the gap, or excuse me, the gap is that, and then the gain becomes where we actually can start finding gratitude, which is all the things Bob Proctor talks about, Mary Morrissey, and so once I learned to make that shift, it was probably after I went through the whole Mary Morrissey program, make that shift, it really changed my perspective around a lot of things. And I had someone ask me the other day, just out of the blue, like, are you happy? And I was like, yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty content. I mean, I'm not going to say it's been a bed of roses in my whole life because it's never
Yeah,
has,
sure.
right?
Yeah,
And there's
right.
still ongoing things. I have adult children. There's always things going on, right? But I think overall, if you ask me, for in most cases, yes, I like my life. I get to do what I want to do. I enjoy the conversations I have on my podcast. I feel like I get to create impact and influence, and and I will tell you, I love my autonomy. That's like my big thing. I love my freedom, and so I agree with everything you've said on this because I think life is too short to sit in a career or in a situation that you just desperately despise every single day,
What
you
I
know?
find people have their biggest want is I want more time.
Yeah,
You hear people say, I want more money. Well, listen, money is a result, not a cause. Okay,
that's true.
unless you find that
Yeah.
tree that is producing money, and I don't know anybody, I've never met anybody, and I've met tens of thousands of people that have not found the money tree yet. So
We're on the
they
conquest.
found the
Give us that money
vehicle.
tree.
Yeah, they found a vehicle of how to get the money, but money
Right.
is a result, not a cause. And so
Yeah.
I always oppose the question is, what is it that you want, but it can't be money? And
Yeah.
99% of the time they say, I want more time.
Time. Yep.
I
Yeah.
want more time. That's one thing you can't buy. You can adjust what your day to day looks like.
Right.
And not only that, but the second biggest thing is I want somebody that I can talk to, somebody that I could bounce my
Yeah.
ideas off of. I don't have time to make more mistakes. I need to make sure my thinking is correctly. And so, if you're the only person in the room, you're the smartest person in the
Yeah.
room. You
You're
know what
having a
I mean?
monologue.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, Mark and I talk about all the time. If we had to pay for Zoom by the minute, we'd be broke just because we talk 4 or 5 hours a day, every
Wow.
single day
Yeah.
in collaborating because I'm in North Carolina, he's in Maryland, and we constantly work at our business. We were working at our first quarter, beginning of second quarter in September of last year. So I mean, it's constantly evolving.
Sure.
We talked about this morning about a new program that we're getting ready to release the 19th of this month. And so we're excited about that. We're giving away 2 scholarships that we want to be able to find 2 people that are looking to make a change in their life, and we want to be able to take them from beginning to end for 12 months and just give it to them and give them just
Yeah.
to say, hey, it's not going to cost you a dime.
Just work them
We're
through.
looking at it's an expense that we're going to say, hey, we're going to use our time, and we're looking to give back and help. Our goal this year is to help 240 people, but 2 of them
Okay.
starting the new year, we're gonna give out 2 scholarships to people
Good.
that
Yeah.
are wanting to make a change in their life. And so I would say stay tuned, follow us on social media because we're going to be pushing it out on the 19th.
Awesome. Well, and that'll be good too. It'll be a great testimony too when you work these, work somebody, a couple people through that and they can actually see it and you'll have the proof and be like, hey, here's the thing. Now I know Bob Proctor's stuff is good. I know I'm like I said, I did my stuff to Mary Morrissey. It was pretty thorough. And interestingly enough, when I took that, I didn't really anticipate using it for anything. I really did it for just to do it for myself. And then I
Yeah.
went through and I was like, this is really good. Like it made me in some ways it was like the part of the Mary Kay I didn't get, like the part I missed, like, because there's a lot there. They do really well training, but there was just a little piece of that that wasn't quite there that I got to pick up here. And a lot of it was the deep trench work stuff that I think so many people miss. And and I'm sure like you guys, like I tell people, I feel like coaching sort of like therapy. So a lot of the work I do is very intense. It's not band-aid type stuff because I
That's
really
right.
try to help people get and all of this work you probably
It's
see if you're following the show or if you listen to the dialogue, you hear like there's very seldom any shallow conversation because I just don't really welcome it. So
yeah.
that's why we love everybody on here. But this is great. I would love to know from both of you because I think this is just kind of a fun thing. Maybe like because we talked about mistakes in here, like maybe something that you feel like you had that really kind of turned into a good thing in your business, like maybe something in your business where you made a mistake and you're like, hey, this actually panned out. Kind of like Dwayne, when you said hearing your dad tell the story of
Mhm.
this happened to him, and then you took that and flipped that around and said, I don't want to do this, I'm going to do this. So maybe something that happened that you remember that helped you
Mark, go ahead.
succeed.
Oh, you're gonna throw me under the bus first, huh?
Oh, no,
So I
I'll
was still
go. It doesn't matter.
if
Just
you've
letting you
got
have
yours,
the
go
floor
ahead. Because
first this
I'm trying to
time.
think. I'm trying to think of which one I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I know there's
I
a
would
lot, right?
say investing. When I first started out real estate investing, I learned by a book
Right.
and I spent money that I did too much. I put too much money out and I made money on my first deal, but it was very little. It was
Yeah.
very little. And I think because I went into it blindly and I needed more information. If I would have had a coach and later on in life, I went to go work for this guy that educated people on how to invest in real estate. And so then I learned a lot more. So I tried to put the cart in front of the horse on something that I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of. even though I know I wanted to do it, I put the cart in front of the horse. And then, well, later on, 30 years in the industry of educating people on that, a big difference. And so
Yeah.
early off, I found out a lot of mistakes that I did. I should have done, I just should have done things differently, that it cost me a lot of money up front. And
Yeah.
I learned on the second deal a little bit, and the third deal, and the fourth deal. And then I got connected with a partner, and he and his wife handled the property management side of it, and they stole a bunch of money from me. They were saying that
Yeah.
people weren't there. So I learned about partnership.
Right.
I thought he was a legitimate person, he and his wife, and hey, it was a husband and wife, and I thought everything was good there. And you know, we did a lot of things together, but I went out to one of the properties before, and they said it was vacant. Well, it wasn't vacant. I mean, somebody was there. They were like, "What are you talking about? I'm making my payments." And I was told, "Oh, well, nobody was there." And so I started checking on more and more properties, and even though they were saying it was vacant, it wasn't. And so I just didn't do
Yeah.
a lot of I dotting, T crossing along early stages
Sure.
in that, because that wasn't something I didn't know how to invest in real estate. My
Right.
background was construction. My background was sales, and I really didn't know, but I knew I wanted to do something different and create another multi-stream of income. And I think that if I would have slowed it down a little bit and had somebody give me more education, because listen, we can read all the books and everything that you want all day long, and the books are going to give you so much information, but that book did not, none of these books have ever talked back to me. I had a question. Okay, you said on page 16 this, what's that mean? Well, I have no, I mean, I never got an answer. And so from that, you know what I mean? I mean, it
Yeah.
goes on to the next paragraph and the
Right.
next
Right.
sentence where
Yeah.
it really didn't give me that answer. And I think on
Yeah.
an early off beginning, if I would have had somebody talk me through it, I think
Right.
that I would have made fewer mistakes. I don't
Yeah.
regret my mistakes. I was able to gain and move on from them. But early on, I think if I would have been able to change something, and let's face it, investing in real estate, it's not cheap.
Right.
So it
Right.
was an
Yeah.
expensive, I put myself in an expensive position to where I wish I would have had a mentor early on.
Yeah. Well, I think, like I said, and the beauty of that is it gives you the voice to know what not to do. And you can
Yes,
share,
for sure.
that's, we all
Yeah.
have to make, especially if we're stubborn, we all have to make those,
And I'm stubborn.
yeah, we all
Yeah.
have to make those few, hit the
Hey,
wall a few
eh,
times, maybe 10 times. And then eventually you'd be like, dude, I have a red dot on my head. Stop hitting the wall. Okay. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, for
I've
sure.
done that a few times. So I'm telling you
eh,
this story.
I
I know
hear.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So
it's even okay. It's even okay if you're older, because my wife and I sold our business in
yeah.
2009. We sold it. That was
Yeah.
a good thing at the time. We decided to buy a weight loss franchise about a year and a
Okay.
half after that. And I hired an attorney to help me do due diligence. Turns
Yeah.
out I did not do enough due diligence, because the weight loss program, the way the franchise was set up, was illegal in the state that I bought in Maryland.
Oh my goodness.
Because in Maryland you cannot have a doctor work for you, and that was part of their model, was that the doctor actually worked for the
Okay.
franchise. So then they had to and we ended up not doing it. And that's what led me to partner with a mastermind partner and join the note business after I met Duane.
Okay.
And had that worked out, I might not have ever met Duane. And Huddle for
Yeah.
Success wouldn't have
Yeah.
existed. And Equity First Funding, my company that buys and sells mortgage notes, wouldn't have existed. So it really hurt when that $150,000 that we paid for the franchise went away.
Oh yeah. God, that'd be
But
awful. Yeah.
but it led to something much better.
Right. And you always hear stories like that. And that's the thing. And see, and that's where I guess it's like you learn to what we talked about, kind of find that silver lining and that stuff. Like I always tell this story about how I had partnered up with this firm. I won't mention any names on it, but I partnered up with this firm for a very short period of time. And they were working with larger size businesses doing leadership coaching. And I was going to come in and do basically help with some of the leadership coaching. But it ended up being that we just never got there. The goalposts kept changing. And after a while, we ended up just sort of kind of parting ways. But I was really, after that happened, I got really bitter about it because I had given up all my coaching stuff and started working with this company, and then they just kept changing the goalposts, and then I basically could walk out. This is right in the middle of COVID. But the interesting thing was is during that time, I had read a lot of really good books. I had read, like, Stephen Covey's book. I had read Five Dysfunctions of a Team, Spin Selling. I read all these really good books that I had not ever heard about, and they were instrumental in helping me, like, when I was trying to build out my podcast. I mean, there was just a lot of pieces of it I took away. And so I look back at that now and I think, yeah, that was kind of a sucky period of time. I probably wouldn't work with them again. But I gained a lot of really good information. And also in that, I realized whom I would and would not work with. I learned about a lot about the type of people that I wanted to work with. There was a very passive aggressive person in the group, and cutthroat passive aggression. I was not used to that because I didn't have that in Mary Kay. And I realized I don't ever want to work with a covert narcissist or a passive aggressive person ever again. It doesn't work. If you can't state the problem that you're having and we can't communicate, we don't need to be working together. So I learned a lot. And that's what I think is beautiful when you have those kind of hard situations, is that you can, get the takeaway that you need and use it to help you and help other people with it. So good on
Absolutely.
you. Yeah, good stuff. So one last question I want to ask you before I ask you, where do we send all these people? I would love to know, and I feel like if we summed all this up, you've already said it in so many words, but I would love to know, like, a final sentence on how you define success. What does that mean to you?
Success means something different to every single person.
I
You know,
agree.
think and grow rich. When you hear that title, you think of money.
Right.
And to me, while money makes life easier at times, it's about family, it's about love, it's about my relationship with my Lord and Savior. And that's success to me, is when I can sleep at night and I know that my family's taken care of.
I love that. Thank you.
So
I would say success to me is being able to have a choice at whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So having the choice of getting up and going to your 9 to 5, or, hey, you know what? I deserve a vacation and we're able to go because we don't have the responsibility. Hey, I want to start my own business. Whatever that is,
Right.
a choice, just like it's as easy as getting up in the morning. And I have a dog. I have a bulldog, and so I love her with all my heart. And so my choice is every morning to get up, open the door, let her go out and walk around. I live in North Carolina. God's country is beautiful here.
Mhm.
And so that's my choice. And so I don't have to punch a clock. I've never had to punch a clock in my life. Well, I did when I was 16 years old, and I worked as a boy at a seafood restaurant, and so obviously I did. But I was always fortunate that I had a choice, and I wasn't. Listen, we all have jobs,
Right.
but I had a choice of what that was, and so I wish that everybody that I work with can at the end of the day say, you know what? He allowed me and gave me a vision and a direction to where I could go, or I could make my own choices. And so that's what I wish for everybody that we work with. They can walk away saying, you know what? I have a choice.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm able to do something that I wanted to do or I never was able to do, but I had a vision and I had belief that I could. I just didn't know the direction of where it was going to take me. But now that I have a choice that I can go do. And so I think that defines success.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say
Yeah.
I like both of y'all's stories because I think both of those definitions, because I think they're both very good.
What's yours?
I would say both of y'all, blend of both of y'all's. Mine is autonomy. I like the choice. And I do want to say something about the dog, because I don't know why I'm not surprised you have a bulldog, but I have a pit bull. So I'm just saying there's something, because those little dogs have their own little saucy personalities, and it takes a saucy personality to put up with a saucy one of them,
Yeah.
So we had another pit bull before this one that was more like a bulldog. I missed that dog. I loved that dog. He was so faithful and loyal to me. He slept by me every night. And it was so funny. My husband would go to take, like, with this time we had 3 dogs. We had a lab, a Catahoula, and this pit bull bulldog. He would all the other 2 dogs, the lab and Catahoula, would be at the door ready to go for a walk. Crow, that dog would run through the house and sit right next to me and like plant himself and just sit there like I was going to protect him. Like he was not going for that walk. My husband would get them all out there, and then once he got out there, he'd be fine. But when he would sit down and frog dog,
Frog dog.
we weren't going anywhere. That dog was done. He would just sit. We ain't moving till he was ready to move.
She's an
So,
English bulldog, and she does what the hell she wants to do. She
see, that's
has
what
her
I'm
choice.
saying. That's what I'm
But she has
saying.
her own mind, but she listens to me. I'm so grateful. She's my 4th one.
They're great dogs. They're
I'll
great
never
dogs.
have another one just
Yeah.
because they they'll never be as good as her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just love them. I've just been so attached to those type of dogs,
They're
and
fun dogs.
she's
Yeah.
oh, they're great dogs, great personality, even though they do what the heck they want to do. Um,
Well, that's why I
they're
said I'm
very
not surprised you
loyal,
have one.
very loyal, very loving and loyal, and but they have one owner. They'll listen to one person. Anybody else, you
Yeah.
get a number.
My pit bull we have here, she's more of the Staffordshire. It's my husband's dog. She does listen to me when he ain't here, but when he's here, that's her dude, man. They go to the grocery store. He takes her in the car. She rides in the car, the grocery. All you have to do is say that, man. She totally. But the other one was mine. He was totally my dog, so I get it. So, but no,
Yeah, I love
y'all's
it.
definitions of success are great. I agree with both because I'm with you. I think family is important, and I think the freedom to be able. I was fortunate enough that I've been. My kids are all adults now. I was able to be home with them the whole time. I grew up in daycare and stuff, so because both my parents worked, and so when I had kids, I always wanted to be able to be home with them and have the choice to be a part of their lives. And so, believe it or not, homeroom mom, PTA mom, field trip mom. I was a troop leader for Girl Scouts. I mean, we did it all, and so
God, you
I'm
had a full
grateful.
schedule, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. But I also like my freedom, and now I'm in that sort of kind of empty nester stage. So I just kind of do what I want to do all the time. I'm kind of spoiled.
I love it.
So,
I love
I
it.
mean,
I love it.
someone's like, "You got to be somewhere at 8 o'clock." I'm like, "Dude, I'm up at 4:30, but I don't want to be anywhere at 8 o'clock in the morning. No."
I love
So,
it.
yeah, you guys are awesome. So, if our audience, I'm sure somebody listening to this is going to want to get in touch with you. Maybe they want to follow you. Maybe they want to inquire about the program. I don't know where do we want to send them so they can find you guys?
So they can go to huddleforsuccess.com, and we have our playbook for life. They can go to huddleforsuccess.com. They
Okay.
can download it for free. If they go to Amazon, they can buy it for $9.99. If they have all our
Kindle
Kindle, thanks,
Unlimited.
Mark.
It's
Yeah, if
free.
they have Kindle, it's free. If they don't have unlimited, then it's $4. And they can email us if somebody has a question and says, "Hey, I heard you on a podcast. I have a question about this, or how can you help me here?" You can always send an email to info@Huddle for Success. Either Mark or I will reply, and we'll schedule a time with you. If you just want to talk, typically what we do is we send out a questionnaire just to get an idea and a direction of where you're at, what you're looking for. And it it it's simple. It's really simple, and it's free.
Yeah.
Good deal. We'll make sure too when we get all the show notes together, we'll get the website in there and that way they know where to
Perfect.
find you. So we're pretty good about making sure we get it in there. So this has been
That's
fun.
awesome.
You guys are doing
Yeah,
good
we had a
stuff.
great
It's
time. You're
fun.
an awesome host,
Yes.
and we would love to have you on our podcast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, love that.
We'll continue the conversation. We'll do some
Yes,
more.
we love
We'll
it. We
dive
love
into
it.
some
We'll
more
let you
stuff.
do more. We'll let you do all the talking next time.
Y'all did good.
Yeah,
It was fun.
I'll try and be quiet.
I, you know what? It's fun when you do these. And hey, y'all did really good. I mean, because it's not always easy navigating more than one on a,
Yeah.
but you guys were very polite. So you did really good because
Thanks.
I very seldom do this. I had one time, it was funny. I had one time where I had the guest and the agent was in like sitting in the thing. And I was like, what do I do with this? Like, I got just this other person kind of sitting in there. When I finished it, I took her off the screen. She wasn't in the deal, but she wanted to sit through the thing. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So, but y'all did very good today. So I want to commend you on that. So
Thank you, Jen.
awesome. And thank you for all your wisdom and knowledge nuggets.
Thanks again, Jennifer.
Absolutely. We do want to say to the audience, of course, we appreciate you and love you. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you found this episode both informative and inspiring. And as I always say, if you did, you know what to do. Like, share, comment, so we can keep sharing all this fabulous content with you. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.